How did he slip through the cracks? How did someone not know this if it was reported?
We would notice him sneak over to the garbage cans where the children empty their trays, and he would try to sneak food out of the garbage cans.
I feel for the bio mom. I feel for her. I wish, hindsight 2020, I wish I could have done something. I know she does too.
Taking a deep dive on Arc Salt Lake tonight into, I don't even know how you describe this case that Arielle Harrison has been covering now for the last almost 2 weeks at this point. We learned about what took place about 2 weeks ago, of something that happened to this little boy, Gavin Peterson, resulting in his death, likely over time, but earlier in the month of July. It is now August. People are now going through the court process. Families are still grieving. The community is behind this like no other. I don't even know where to begin. Let's just go back in the timeline here. When you first started covering this case involving this 12-year-old boy who was found, malnourished and ultimately did not make it because of a pattern of apparent behaviors by family members, where were you early on in this? How were you processing what you were reading in these documents, and where did your coverage go from there?
Right. So I remember the day we heard of a reported death that had been reported to Weber County, where I just called the sheriff's office to get confirmation of a child death. They had very little information at that point. That was beginning of July. I think the specific date was July 10th, where they told us there was an investigation. Foul play wasn't suspected at that point. Fast forward, what would it be? The next week, Brian, where we get confirmation that 3 of this child's family members are now behind bars. He lived in this home with, it appears to be his father, his stepmother, and his 21-year-old brother. Those 3 were arrested for what authorities have deemed a child abuse homicide investigation. They reported in arrest documents of those family members that Gavin, 12-year-old Gavin Peterson, was found in that home. He was unresponsive at the time that authorities arrived. It sounds like his stepmom and dad had called authorities. I think they have in documents that the stepmom called and said he was unresponsive, that he had been sick in the days leading up to that, throwing up, and that she tried to wake him up by perhaps putting him in the bathtub, wetting his face, and authorities came to the home initially, Brian, with him in the bathroom. They take him to the hospital. They say he passed away at the hospital, or they confirmed he was dead at the hospital, and that there were sores on his back. There was clear starvation that had led to his body looking the way it was, and that then was under investigation. But they'd found evidence in the home that led them to the arrest of what appeared to be a prolonged period and pattern of abuse in the home. It
was egregious reading through the very meticulous documentation in some of those early documents. We don't normally see that. I've said that now a few times, but every so often we get a department that gives you great detail of portions of their early investigation. And some of this was really hard to stomach, so maybe we don't have to share it all here. It's already been put out there. But the things that stood out to me are the cameras, right? And the surveillance of this child, watching its every move and what potentially was a repercussion for movement in the house. What have you learned about those behaviors in talking to other people? What stands out to you about what Gavin may have had to go through in his young life?
An expert with a counselor I spoke with early on in the case, just after the family members had been arrested, talked about reading through those arrest documents of the family members, what looked like the coordination of that abuse. They would text about it, according to authorities. They would take photos and send it to one another. They would ask, has he been fed that day? And we've learned, according to police, that he was receiving a very little amount of food. And to me, that's the thing that has just broken so many hearts, is realizing he was maybe getting food in a day and maybe not. Leading to his body giving out based on what police have said to this point. But the coordination, that's something that stood out to a counselor, a mental health counselor I spoke with, who works with families who are going through some of their most vulnerable times, and says that just reading that and her experience was what just like stood out to her, of the coordination that's being presented as evidence.
Something that a lot of people immediately lean to in a child abuse investigation, especially when there's been known problems, documented problems, reported problems, such as this instance at school. We can get to that in a second. But when you look at what DCFS is, their involvement in this, they typically, with the media and with anybody, are extremely tight-lipped to the point where the answers aren't even relevant to the case in and of itself. What have you tried to get answers on in this? I know it's been very difficult, and they're not easy to work with per probably designed law. But at this point, anything from Child Protective, Family Services that have been overseeing this for a long time.
They've given some information in the sense of this was a child we were aware of, I believe, but anything related to the case, it's been tight-lipped. They cite privacy laws, and this has been a huge piece of the frustration and anger coming from the community, Brian, that I haven't even touched on. People who were working at Gavin's school said that they saw him going through the trash can for food at the school and knew then that there was a serious either hunger or eating problem going on. They didn't know at that point, but did assume as they continued to see him show up that he was really hungry, that he was showing up to school hungry. And so staff at the school, I've spoken with one who was who's now former, she doesn't work there any longer, but she was staffed in the lunchroom at the time, who would see Gavin doing this. She said that they got together, her and her colleagues, to put money in his account because they just didn't understand why he was coming to school going through the trash. They just figured he was hungry. They put money on his account so he could purchase food at the school. That worker tells me stepmom got wind of this and approached the school and said, if I wanted him to be eating at the school, I would pay for him to be eating at the school. And that was the end of that. And then not long after, they pulled him from the public school system to homeschool him. So people have been upset about that multiple reports were filed. That's a big piece of this. Multiple reports were filed by school employees. That lunch worker who's gone on the record with us tells us she did. A number of her colleagues did. The school principal was involved. The school nurse was involved. A teacher was involved. And then we know that there were bus drivers that have told us they were involved in that reporting process as well. So they're looking at this as mandated reporters. They're educators. They're mandated reporters of, hey, I did my part. I reported this. It was followed. They tried to follow up on their reports. DCFS at that point also cited privacy laws that they couldn't confirm information with them regarding the case. And they've described to me they felt helpless. They didn't know how to help at that point because they'd reported and reported.
This is not the only case that happens in the state of Utah on a yearly basis that we cover in the media that we try to get those answers for. So thank you for, of course, trying. I know there's this stone wall because I've gone through that with, obviously, the Ruby Frankie, Jody Hildebrand, the children there. It's been very difficult. I do want to ask you just one more thing about the community. I mean, there's the big vigil, and there's more being held for Gavin because now the family had initial court appearances, right? You were covering that as well, and we can touch on that briefly if you'd like. But where is the community fitting into all of this in terms of just trying to not let this fall to the wayside and do something about this little boy's death?
Well, I think how heartbroken they all are, realizing this happened under our noses and that nothing was done. They are stepping in, a lot of them not even knowing Gavin. They are stepping in, they want answers. They don't want to see this happen to another child. I've spoken with some of the family members off the record. I did sit next to biological mom in the courtroom yesterday. I said hi to her. We haven't had the opportunity to speak with her, but family members have told me that parents in Gavin's case went through a difficult divorce that strained the family. An uncle I spoke with from the father's side who's behind bars right now. So the father, Shane Peterson, is behind bars. This is the brother that we can see on camera right now as he sits down sitting with the dad, and then the stepmom. They're in the orange jumpsuits yesterday in court. But and criminy, I lost my train of thought right there.
Well, you're speaking to so many different people about this, trying to get insight on what really took place here and how everyone is coping with this.
An uncle did share with me that he's the father's brother, that he feels the dad downplayed what was going on in the home, and they just did not know to the extent because of the distance from the family, from different things that were going on. That they hadn't seen Gavin in person in several years, and they just had no idea he was in the condition he was, and believed it was coming from another part of the family, and that the dad was not portraying Gavin's life accurately in his home.
Well, on the wayside of just random community members coming in to show any sign of support for what took place to this little boy in terms of supporting the investigation, supporting justice being served. It was really remarkable to see that vigil take place with so many show up that night.
And apparently there's a protest taking place on Monday in the Ogden community, a woman that says she firsthand has experienced the different parts and pieces of reporting things to DCFS. She had some kids in her life that she was trying to get out of a difficult situation, she described, and she described it being relentless reporter of calling and calling and calling to check on it before. In her situation, some of her extended family were removed from a home they were concerned about. But she says it's a complex system. She feels it's a broken system. We've been doing a lot of reporting about that, how it gets reported to police. You can call for a welfare check. You can call and report it to DCFS. But they express frustration in just the process of reporting and not knowing if it's being followed up on.
The last thing, we've been showing video of court. Obviously, that was yesterday. It was very procedural. I watched it. It's very quick. I've seen a lot of those. Not a lot is discussed in those, but where are we in the process? What happens next?
So what we just saw was initial court appearance. The judge established that each of those defendants, the dad, the brother, and the stepmom, you can see sitting down right now, they each have attorneys. The judge set a preliminary hearing date, which from my understanding, that procedure basically will be the point where the judge says if this goes to trial, if the evidence in their case is strong enough. And I spoke with a criminal defense attorney not related to this case just yesterday. I asked her about, okay, talk us getting to the preliminary hearing. She says what we see in the arrest documents is basically a greatest hits list of what the defense, or you would say the prosecution, right? The prosecution has in the case. They're not going to say everything they have, but it gives you a good idea. They have text messages in there that would be used in their own words. They have photos that have been sent from family members, different cameras you described in the home that they've taken surveillance of. They have some pretty, what the criminal defense attorney described as key evidence that they'll use, and it's not the only thing they have, is what she said.
Okay, we're taking a deep dive on this tonight here on Arc Salt Lake. Thank you, Arielle. I appreciate you joining us. So much of Arielle's coverage can be found on our website, KUTV.com.